Your obsession with me is getting a little creepy.
Don't worry. Tall, dark, and Martian isn't my type. I'll destroy you.
You were out there helping them?
I thought I was. They've always been wrong about me. I get scared, but that is being human. And that's my greatest strength.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. DC dropped a brand new Superman trailer. There's a bunch of new footage, a bunch new voiceover from Superman where he's basically explaining himself to Lex Luthor. So we'll break it all down. Because the movie's coming out in a couple weeks, we're doing a giveaway for tickets. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know which your favorite, most powerful version of Superman is. There are a number of them. I'll talk about it because he talks about his greatest power, his greatest strength during this trailer. We actually do know what some of the most powerful forms of Superman are in the comics. Can you imagine how much everyone would freak out if Henry Cavill showed up as Golden Superman Prime from some alternate universe at some point? There are a couple god-tier versions of Superman depending on who's writing him. But there's a lot of new footage of him actually flying through the air, a lot of visual effects. James Gunn said that they did polish a lot of the previous trailers too. There were like a couple of trailer errors that got by him. So if you wondered why Superman had googly eyes in that one trailer that everybody was clowning on, that's because James Gunn said it was an unfinished visual effects shot that just got past him. Like he didn't notice it before it got into the actual marketing trailer. So in the actual movie, Superman's face won't look all busted like that, all warped when he's flying. But I think in context of the movie, this shot of him flying across the Arctic is him coming to the Fortress of Solitude. Maybe it's when Lex Luthor and his henchmen have actually broken in, and he confronts them there inside the fortress, and they have their big fight scene. This scene of Lois Lane asking Superman, you're out there helping him, and he says, I thought I was, I think is happening from the scene where you see that giant floaty creature in the background, like the green creature that seems like Green Lantern is fighting in the background. Supposedly that's something that Lex Luthor creates too inside that pocket dimension. One of the many things that he does in the movie to try and throw at Superman to kill him. And I think in the context of the movie, it's Lois Lane trying to give him a pep talk. Like it's at some point in the movie when Lex Luthor is able to wound him metaphorically, not literally.
I'll destroy you.
Something Lex Luthor does is actually successful in making Superman less popular in the world's eyes. Like they start to hate him a little bit. That's why I think they cut that scene with the different footage, like completely different part of the movie, with the dude throwing the can at the back of his head. Like people are yelling at him like they hate him for some reason. Basically pull the Mysterio Spider-Man No Way Home situation where like he gets people to actually hate him. We actually see slightly different footage of Lex and his henchmen, that evil clone of Superman that they're calling Ultraman, the engineer, even his girlfriend Miss Tessmacher that he brings to the fortress. Just a couple different angles of the actual fight scene where the Kryptonian robots come for the engineer and she just eviscerates them. Then Krypto rips shreds out of her face just because he does have super strength too. The voiceover of Superman yelling seems like it's happening from the scene inside Lex's office, though, when he's telling Lex about himself. Like, he's basically explaining Superman to Lex Luthor. Like, you misunderstand what Superman is all about. This is what he's all about. This is what I'm all about. This is actually meant to be James Gunn's core thesis for Superman during this new DCU era, his reboot era of movies. Like, what is Superman explained by the guy who's doing Superman? When Superman says, they've always been wrong about me, I think the idea is that he's talking about the general public of the world. Like, the world has this idea of who Superman is because they think that he's this godlike creature who can do anything, like he has ultimate power, and they're a little bit wary about him. They said that during the events of the movie, it's meant to be Superman year 3. It's been 3 years since he revealed himself publicly and has been flying around the world trying to save people, using his powers for good. But because it's still so early in his career, he hasn't really proven himself as a friend of humanity to everyone, so James Gunn said most people are wary of him, and obviously by this point Lex Luthor has grown to hate him because he feels like Superman is taking all the vibes, all the energy that should be going to him. Like his whole life has been built on ego. He's meant to be a bit of an Elon Musk kind of parody in that way, in that he's built this giant company, he's one of the world's richest people next to Batman. So he feels like he is the greatest gift to humanity. But in swoops Superman, and he feels like Superman is stealing all the attention that should be going to him.
He's a guy who's just built his whole life around the idea of legacy and ego that all of a sudden everybody loves and every woman loves, and all of the things that he cares about now are all going to him.
And Superman is basically telling Lex Luthor that he is just as human as everyone else, even though technically he is a Kryptonian alien. He loves, he gets scared, he hurts like everybody else, metaphorically at least. Although you can technically hurt Superman, it just takes a lot of force. That's why they cut it with the separate footage of him being trapped inside Lex's pocket dimension, and Lex forcing Metamorpho to help subdue Superman by turning his body into kryptonite. You can actually see why that happens in the background, because this woman in the dress next to him in the cell is actually Star Sapphire, Metamorpho's wife, who is the mother of his baby, Baby Joey, who we see Superman holding in that other new trailer. It seems like he helps Metamorpho save his baby. Within the context of the DCU, Metamorpho is meant to be a good character. It's just that Lex basically kidnapped his baby and his wife and is forcing Metamorpho to help him take down Superman. There are a lot of people that have been asking about Lobo. I don't think that it's going to be Lobo. I think it's just literally meant to be a clone of Superman that Lex creates. That's the person that he's fighting here, swinging this giant piece of debris against. There's a couple of scenes from the previous trailers where you actually see him unleash his heat vision on all the different Lex troops in their power suits. They're just meant to be random henchmen inside Lex's power suits. We will see if Lex himself wears one of the power suits from the comics in the movie. Maybe James Gunn is just working up to that in future movies. Superman then tells Lex that's his greatest strength inside his little office is going on here, but there's also a bit of a tag scene at the end of the trailer where you see Superman sitting with Krypto on the moon looking at the Earth, which is actually a scene from All-Star Superman. A lot of All-Star Superman, Grant Morrison's run, inspired this movie, the Kryptonian robots, the general vibes of the movie, Superman's power levels. So taking that into account, these are actually some of the literal most powerful versions of Superman, most powerful forms of Superman. So there's Golden Superman, which they literally just introduced in the comics in May 2025, like just as we're posting this video here. They have not fully explained what this new golden form is that he's unlocked, but it basically renders him immune to all forms of kryptonite. So effectively makes him more powerful, like he has fewer weaknesses in that fact. It kind of seems like it's a nod to the Golden Superman form from Superman 1,000,000. But then there's Kingdom Come Superman. James Gunn actually posted a picture from Kingdom Come Superman of the Justice League forming together when he first took over DC, saying, making plans. So a lot of people are like, wait a minute, is Kingdom Come going to inspire some of the future of the DCU, like the future version of the Justice League at some point? We will see about that.
Your trip to the sun overexposed your cells to solar radiation.
Then there is the all-star version of Superman. He's exposed to a lethal amount of solar radiation, amplifying his powers to God-tier levels. But the solar radiation that's powering him up also is killing him at the same time because it's just too much energy too fast for his body to process, so he does wind up dying by the end of that run. If you've not read the comic book series, like I said, it heavily inspires this new Superman movie with David Corenswet. There's actually an animated version of the movie out there, too, that basically just adapts the comic book. You can watch. Christina Hendricks actually plays that version of Lois Lane, if you ever wanted to see Christina Hendricks inside a Superman movie. Then, of course, there's Superboy Prime. He is crazy powerful and crazy just in general. Working up the tier list, there's Superman Prime from DC 1,000,000. A lot of people point to this as being one of the most powerful versions up to a certain point. After spending 15,000 years in the sun, this form of Superman acquires God-tier abilities, able to take on cosmic entities. He also gains cosmic powers that allow him to warp reality. Then another Grant Morrison deep cut. Like Grant Morrison just loves to make more and more powerful versions of Superman. There's a cosmic armor form of Superman from Final Crisis. He's also referred to as the Thought Robot, but he's not like a regular multiverse version of Superman you just find from Krypton in another universe. He's actually more of a cosmic entity created by the Monitors to defend against ultimate evils. This version of Superman only existed in the Monitor's sphere, which is a different part of the multiverse, like a different plane of existence, which is like the highest level of reality. Simultaneously, he's aware of all different realities in the multiverse, has unlimited stamina, can outlast attacks on a multiversal scale, and that's why he only appeared for a very brief period during Final Crisis, like the very end of that story. But when you're pulling a Grant Morrison and you just want to introduce more and more powerful versions of Superman, one of the problems that most writers run into, one of the pitfalls, is they find it hard to create villains for people with that level of power. But here's the thing, this is actually where Grant Morrison actually argues against the more powerful versions of Superman being bad for storytelling.
Things about certain characters that I think are immutable. There's certain things about Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, probably especially. Shazam.
We will see if James Gunn also sort of flows with the same logic in the future. It made it sound like he didn't want to make Superman too powerful inside this new DCU universe. But no matter how powerful Superman gets, ultimately, all Superman stories are really just the same types of stories about human frailty and emotions. Grant Morrison said that no matter how powerful Superman gets, when he goes out to walk the dog, like a normal person will go out to walk the dog, he just takes Krypto to the moon, like you see in this trailer, like you saw during the All-Star Superman story. So it's really just the same types of human stories about human emotions, even though he is Kryptonian, he's an alien. Metaphorically, he's just as human as everyone else. That's one of the whole reasons why Jor-El sent him to Earth in the first place, because he sensed that it would be a great place for him to live in a symbiotic relationship with humans, where he would inspire them to become better people, and they would in turn inspire him to become a better person. The problem, though, is that Lex Luthor can't really see past the whole Giga Chad in tights who wears his underwear on the outside of his pants and just thinks that Superman is here to steal all the cool stuff that he should be getting. So there's going to be a lot of that kind of energy going on in the movie between Superman and Lex Luthor. Like, why does Lex Luthor hate Superman so much? It's not that he hates Superman himself that much. He hates the idea of Superman and what Superman represents. In related news, Henry Cavill did say that he was going to come back at some point, but he didn't say what that would look like. Maybe they'll let Zack Snyder do an animated version of his Justice League 2 and Justice League 3. That would actually be a cool Elseworlds kind of movie. There was just a really, really big X-Men announcement at Marvel. Click here to learn what's going on with that, and click here for my brand new Superman videos, and click here for a whole bunch more Superman footage and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.